Mark.
Greetings from the end times, Trey.
Yes, sir. And this right here, this is Evening Skews. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. What it might have been like to be a fly on the head of the vice presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Mike Pence last night. What is the future of debating presidentially in the era of COVID and a nefarious plot in the state of Michigan and the outcome of it? But first, as always, we have to do the Daily Dumbass. Now, if you've been paying attention lately, you know that there has been high-profile Republican after high-profile Republican coming forth with positive test results for COVID-19. A lot of that has been linked to the Rose Garden ceremony and various other activities that have happened within the Trump administration. And it might lead you to wonder, is there something amiss within the Trump White House when it comes to keeping COVID under control? And that very question was posed to Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel on Fox News this morning. And let me pull it up, and here we go. Mark, if you can't hear the sound, let me know. But here it is.
You spent a lot of time at the White House. Do you think there's a hole in the system there now?
I don't. I think they've been testing. They've been using the PPE. I think this is a virus that's incredibly contagious, and there's options here, Bill. And the Democrats are saying we've got to shut everything down. The country needs to shut down, and we need to be paralyzed. And the president's saying we can balance living our lives and getting out and working and doing the things that we need to, wear the PPE, wear the masks, and at the same time.
Okay.
So so for context, what makes her dumbass in saying all that is she has coronavirus and she got it at the White House.
Right. And they all did. And they all have gotten it every other day. It's someone who has been in close proximity to this administration, right, test positive for coronavirus. And so the question, is there a hole in the protocol there? Is there something you're not doing correctly that is leading to this result? And her response is no, this is just how it works. And she's not the first person to say this. This went viral right after Trump tested positive for it. This is Deanna Lorraine, who's running for Congress, and I think is it Arizona.
Yeah, she's a QAnon,
yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone else find it odd that no prominent Democrats have had the virus, but the list of Republicans goes on and on? And, like, it all just checks out so fully. Like, it's all so obvious to anyone paying attention, except for the people who are on the other side of the positive test, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, there's two possibilities. Either this is a very contagious virus you're probably going to get if you're around other people who have it if you refuse to wear a mask, especially in large groups, or this is a deep state plot through which they're injecting only Republicans with COVID, right? So It's fit 6 of one, half dozen the other, really. But I just can't. It's just so. Ronna McDaniel says it's a highly contagious virus. They just spent 7 months saying it wasn't. So they're doing. So arguments essentially they're doing the best they can, but this is a really tough enemy. But also we're putting up no fight against it. Yeah, I can't make sense of any of their arguments.
Right. Well, so moving on, the vice presidential debate was last night. Kamala Harris, Mike Pence. But no one was talking about either of them. All anybody was talking about was the fly. The fly who really made a name for himself. I'm jealous of this fly. This fly's got a lot of heat, man.
There are like 4 parody fly Twitter accounts with 100,000 followers.
Yeah, right. I know. This fly came out of nowhere and just established himself as a major player in the American zeitgeist. The fly that landed on Mike Pence's head and stayed there for 2 minutes or so in the middle of the vice presidential debate. I don't know. I want to make fun of how much has been made of this fly, but at the same time, I'm completely for it, and I think it's totally deserved. Do you know what I mean? Like it's hilarious. I don't know. I think about my papaw, Mark. Mm-hmm. My papaw had that same. He had that same like
the Lego man,
motorcycle helmet, hairspray situation going on up top. You know what I mean? Where like he was none of that was penetrating to his actual nervous system. You know, and if a fly had landed on my papaw's hair during my high school graduation, he would have had no fucking clue. Like, fuck 2 minutes, 2 hours, he wouldn't have known. But this is still so funny that this happened in the middle of a vice presidential debate, especially to this particular guy, you know, because he's the guy who has he's got a very, I don't know, eldritch terror aura about him. I feel like.
Do you remember during the Republican primary debate in 2016, Ted Cruz had a white spit booger on his lip for like 10 minutes when he realized he ate it off his lip? Yeah. Live TV is a bitch, man. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. The only main takeaway from the debate for me was like they were talking about COVID. And Mike Pence is trying to defend his record, and basically his gist of his argument was, as the chairman of the COVID task force, here with pink eye, which is a symptom of COVID, talking to you through plexiglass in an empty auditorium because of COVID, whose boss has COVID, I'm proud of the job we did. So that's pretty much the only main takeaway from it. Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as, I don't know, trying to find the actual high points that were hit in terms of political discourse in this country between the two.
There weren't many points.
Well, because I feel like that's because it played out like most debates do. Do you know what I mean? In my opinion, like it was kind of boring. You know, like I don't know. We've gotten into this place where we almost expect fireworks or something. And this kind of just played out. It's just a lot of political discourse is not that enthralling, you know. But they still covered a lot of things. They talked about, like, they were directly asked about stacking the court, like whether Biden and Harris would stack the court if they won in the wake of RGB's death and Amy Coney Barrett being appointed, and Kamala and Biden both continue to refuse to directly address that. And I know it probably feels like a cop-out, but I understand the rationale for not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, they're like...
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. If they did it, it'd be a retaliatory measure. So you don't announce retaliation before the other person acts because you don't know how it's going to play out. So it makes sense to me to be like, well, what we do depends on what happens next. So I'm not going to announce.
Right.
You know, if Barrett isn't on the court, then we don't. Maybe we don't, or maybe we do anyway, or whatever. That depends on whether they roll back the filibuster, whether the Democrats take the Senate. There's really no point in announcing any sort of plan to what the lay of the field looks like.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what I thought. One thing that I thought was weird was they were when they were asked about the Trump administration being willing to have a peaceful transfer of power in the event that they lost the election, which again, that shouldn't even be a question. Like, it's insane that that's even a thing that gets brought up. But that's where we are, and it gets brought up. And I felt like both of them, Kamala included, they both tried to play the card of like, oh, well, we're going to win. You know, like they both tried to pivot and be like, this is why we should win, and we are going to win. Mm-hmm. You know, like she didn't really, I don't know, how do you handle the idea of if you are Kamala, if you're on the opposition side, how do you handle the idea of them just refusing to submit themselves to the actual results of the election if that happens? Because Pence, he said, he was like, well, his whole thing was, well, that's not going to happen. We're going to win, so it doesn't matter. We're going to win, so that's irrelevant, and that's my answer. And I get that, but if you're on the other side, the question is, if you win, they're not going to give it over to you. What are you going to do? Like, how do you react to that?
You don't really. It's just like you don't.
Right.
Like, you just like we're all like Pence isn't really committing to anything. He's they're all just held hostage by Trump's temperament, where he does the business guy thing where you don't make any commitments to the last possible moment you make a commitment, because you don't know what's going to change between now and in election day or January 3rd or whatever, right? But it's like, the government's not a business. You have to things have to operate on principles, right? Not just like making the best deal you can get. So he just blurts out this shit, and now Pence is captive to it. Pence doesn't want a civil war. He's got a nice life. He doesn't need to be vice president and have a nice life. He's going to sit on a bunch of boards and be very rich and have grandkids, and he's not interested in this amount of contentiousness. Like a guy like Bill Barr is a true believer in Republican authoritarianism. He might be dangerous, but they still have to. The election has to be in doubt for them to steal it. It has to be close. There has to be some discrepancies. There has to be like if Florida isn't within a 0.05% or whatever in 2000, they couldn't have stolen it. So it's, maybe I have too much faith in the American system. I've been proven wrong a lot lately, but
right. Well, I don't know you, Mark, but I feel like we can't move on from this without talking about the fly at least a little bit, because like it or not, in our social media dominated society that we live in today, the fly is the headline here. And I'm not going to lie, I find it hilarious because flies are attracted to rotting flesh, right? They're attracted to corpses. Last Friday, I put out a video talking about Mike Pence, where I said he was like a villain, the villain from a slasher movie in the 80s about a killer pilgrim who was animated by a corn doll that his wife keeps in her bonnet, and it's like he's a golem. He's a flesh golem. He's a death golem. And that's how he operates. And I feel like a lot of people look at Mike Pence that way, and a fly alighting on his hair for 2 solid minutes, it's hilarious how that plays out, right? Like, I don't think the internet's wrong in finding this noteworthy.
It's sort of like we're so desperate for anything spontaneous to happen in these debates. I don't know. To me, Mike Pence looks like a doctor in a cigarette commercial in the 50s.
Yeah,
telling you that cigarettes will activate your T zone. Put the little reflective thing on his head, wearing the headband and a white coat. It's just like it's a black and white TV doctor.
But let's try to remove ourselves from it politically, right? Like, do you think? And Mark, I know you are a bald American, and I'm not casting aspersions on that. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Do you think? Do you think you should be aware of a fly on your hairsprayed coiffure? Is this just? I appreciate the comedy in this, and I'm on board with it. It's hilarious. But let's just pull ourselves back from it. And how fair is this? Should he have known there was a fly sitting on his head for that amount of time? Or are we being assholes?
I don't know. I'm not. You're the one obsessed with the fly thing.
I'm not obsessed with the whole fucking internet's obsessed with it, Mark. But I'm saying how legitimate is that, Because I find it hilarious, but it's also again, Mark, like I said earlier, I go back to my papaw. And I think about my papaw and how much hairspray he had going on up here, right? And if a fly landed right here on my papaw's coif, his hairspray coif, like, he wouldn't have known. He would have had no idea.
Well, I gotta ask you because, like, I've been shaving my head for more than half my life at this point, so I've forgotten. Would you be able to feel if a fly landed in your hair?
No, I don't think I would. That's what I'm saying. I hate to give him credit, but I don't think I would, especially if it was, again, you hairspray it, you prop it up where it's at, and he's on the outer perimeter of your hair situation. I don't think I would be aware of it, and so you can't hold that against somebody, but it's still fucking funny though.
My takeaway from the fly thing is like you're right, like it seemed like a more normal debate, but this debate should have had more fireworks because Pence was like lying his ass off, and I don't mean like all politicians lie about the potential downsides of policies. There's no policy that doesn't have some downside to it, right? But he was just lying about stuff they said like a week ago, like pretending stuff that it like, and the moderator was just letting it slide. And that lady was not a good choice for moderator.
Right.
Kamala left a lot of she let a lot of slow pitches go by.
Yeah, like when Kamala was talking about Donald Trump refusing to condemn white supremacists or whatever, and Pence was like, "That's not true. That's not true. That's not true." And him saying that wasn't called out because like that is true. He did do,
and their defense of
he did exactly what she was saying he did, and Pence is like, "That's not true. That didn't happen," and that wasn't in any way questioned.
Well, their defense of it is that he was entrapped or walked into, or they laid some sort of rhetorical trap, and then he did actually do it. If you look at the whatever, but he's had like it's been like 2 weeks. He could have come out and clean it up and give an unequivocal denunciation of the Proud Boys, and hasn't done it yet. So he's also a stubborn asshole and just doesn't want to like backtrack on anything he ever said. And you can see if he did anything wrong, but he could have cleaned it up by now if he wanted to make it explicit. He doesn't want to. So I think what she said was fair. And Mike Pence was lying once again. So somebody should have been screaming at it because there's like we're so far past like all the norm violating where like it's like we're expected to not. Again, you can lie, but I mean, you can say like I'm going to create so and so jobs without saying, oh, the downside of it is we got to destroy this other industry or we got to raise taxes and so. Or we got to use eminent domain to take this place to build this road. You just don't talk about the downsides, and people consider those like the kind of lies that politicians tell that are normal and okay. But what's not normal and okay is to just be like to say, I like pumpkin pie as my favorite food one day, and the next day be like, I've never had pumpkin pie. Like that's usually considered like a kind of lie that people will call you out on. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So, in keeping with talking about the debates and everything, we talked about on Tuesday's episode. Trump had said he was looking forward to his next debate with Joe Biden, despite the fact that he has COVID and has publicly admitted that, and everybody knows it. And he was saying that, he still wanted to have the debate. He was looking forward to it. And me and you were talking about, what do you do if you're Joe Biden? Do you refuse to do it? Well, obviously, the conversation has evolved further from there. And cooler heads prevailed, I guess, and decided that obviously they couldn't have an in-person debate when one party is positive with coronavirus. So they being the debate commission, floated the idea of having a virtual debate. And Trump flat out immediately refused to participate in a virtual debate. He said he wouldn't do that. His administration then said, what we can do is move the debates further back. And the Biden campaign said, no, we're not going to move the debates further back. We can have these virtual debates, or I guess we just won't have them, but we're not going to move the debates further back because they are already at a point that is historically much later than any other presidential debates in an election year have been.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering how you feel about both sides approach to it so far. I mean, I feel like it's a net positive for most Americans if the result ends up being we're not having any more debates, again, based on the way the last one went. But as far as the cards they're playing, on both sides, like how you feel about how that's playing out so far.
Well, I mean, I'm glad they're not having any more because, quite frankly, my liver can't handle it. But strategically speaking, the funny thing about it was the debate commission. Usually, the campaigns negotiate the frameworks of the debate, and the debate commission is like a moderator. The debate commission just announced they were going to move it to virtual and didn't give the Trump campaign any sort of say in it, or they just because you can't negotiate with Trump because he's a bad faith negotiator, right? So they just announced they were going to do the right thing without any input. And what Trump did was a backlash to it. As far as the Biden campaign, I mean, whenever people get a chance to hear Trump talk extemporaneously, they do not like it. So I would try to get him on TV as much as possible in a position where he's being challenged, especially where he has to talk to regular people. I mean, good God, this is a guy who, when he gets Gold Star families on the telephone, makes them cry because doesn't know how to talk to another human being. So I would, even the day before the election, I would put him on stage for the the town hall debate. But
because I don't know, it's weird how it's all played out, because I feel like the Trump campaign has played this whole thing of if you refuse to debate us, then you're afraid of it, or something like, but given the current circumstances where he has COVID, and now it's flipped on its ear where Trump is the one who's refusing to debate, but it is specifically a virtual debate, so he can still stand by that. Well, I'm only refusing it because it's over a computer, and I'm doing it. It's in person or nothing, as far as I'm concerned, and thus I'm still a man. It's just all such a farce the way it's playing out. But
it would be funny to watch for an hour as Trump tried to figure out Zoom, just like we did the old person Zoom thing, where he's looking, trying to figure it out. But I don't. I don't know. It's like you said one party has COVID. One reason they can't do this is I think you mean political party, because you're talking about a traveling entourage of 75 people who all have the mask of the Red Death and haven't been diagnosed with it yet, because Trump still won't abide by protocols. He's working in the West Wing and not wearing a mask. So they can't take a busload of people to a debate. They just can't. But again,
right.
The Biden
it's like we said earlier in the show, the Republican running for office, who was does anyone else find it weird that no high-profile Democrats have contracted COVID and it's only Republicans? It's that thing they do that so often where it's you're so close. Do you know what I mean? You're so close to realizing what's actually going on. You're right. You're 100% right about that. What you just said. There are very few high-profile Democrats who have it. Meanwhile, high-profile Republican after high-profile Republican comes down with it. Isn't that weird, right? You're right. You're right to note that as being noteworthy. Go a little bit further. Think about it a little bit further as to why that might be. But what they do is they're it's some nefarious conspiracy that George Soros is behind, or whatever that makes that be true.
Trey,
they get this close, man.
Trey, do you think it's a coincidence the entire organization of the committee to legalize pig fucking has come down with swine flu? It's absolutely, it's a conspiracy, man.
Right. Okay, hey, all right. I want to get into this because I cannot wait to hear what Smart Mark has to say about it all. If you guys haven't seen it, a nefarious plot was upended today in the state of Michigan. The governor, Gretchen Whitmer, was almost kidnapped, but the FBI stepped in and stopped that from happening. They intervened with a group of domestic far-right terrorists in the state of Michigan and kept them from apprehending the governor of the state, Gretchen Whitmer, in their effort to try her for treason and upend the power of liberal states and I don't know. I get lost at that point. But either way, it was bad and we stopped it.
This is all over the business closure orders, which have been really contentious in Michigan. Like, she's in the middle of a fight with the state legislature and Supreme Court just overruled her. So she had to find another legal justification that was ironclad to like issue more mask orders and stay-at-home orders and whatever. And so they're going to spend the rest of their lives in prison. They arrested 6 dudes and another 13 are facing charges, I think, because the governor wouldn't let them go to Applebee's. This is like where we're at right now. They were going to kidnap the duly elected governor of Michigan and put her on trial for treason, which I don't know what they think treason is if it's not trying to overthrow the government.
Right, yeah.
But everything about this, it's not funny. It's we're at a really dangerous point, and like eventually someone is gonna, the FBI hasn't infiltrated, is going to like attempt one of these plots, assassinations or kidnappings, and it's not a good state for our country to be in.
Right.
But I do want to. All right, so let me read that quote you found, Trey, in the second bullet point
about the demo guy or
yeah.
the snatch and grab.
So, okay, the quote from the group leader on the plan: "Snatch and grab, man. Grab the fucking governor. Just grab the bitch, because at that point, we do that, dude. It's over, right?" So, which I know you can take that one of two ways. Either they think they've successfully overthrown the government if they kidnap one lady, which isn't how.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they seem to be boogaloo boys, which means they're trying to jumpstart a civil war like Charles Manson was trying to do. Well, maybe not Charles Manson was, but anyway, that's what they were trying to do, and jumpstart a civil war. So maybe by it's over, they mean the war will have started. So maybe that's what they mean. Either way, I think that's probably false too. There would have been, half dozen or a dozen guys at war with the entire FBI. So I don't think that would have had the result they wanted. But there's just a lot of like really funny. You do the oceans
So the same guy, Mr. Fox, the guy who was the leader of this militia group that they arrested for this. Yeah, their idea was all we got to do is arrest the governor or kidnap the governor. If we kidnap the governor at that point, it's over, which is what Mark just said. But during that same spiel that he was going on, because there was a undercover FBI agent in the room who was recording all this, he also said to them that it was important that they recruited a engineer or IT expert, i.e. a hacker, a demo guy, and other operators. So basically this guy is like trying to figure, he was like, listen, if we're going to do this, obviously we need a guy in the van, we need a bomb guy, we need a hacker. Like, he's just going through the Ocean's 11 rules of a caper, right? Like, it's so obvious that they're just basing all of this on watching heist movies and determining what they need to execute their nefarious plot.
We need a con artist, a cat burglar, a master of disguise.
Right.
Can we show this screen grab in the affidavit about Mr. Fox real quick?
Yes, we can. Hang on. I've pulled it up now. Let me get in the thing here, and
this is really funny. This is a group text this guy sent to all the people in on the plot.
Yep. There it is, right?
Yeah. Well, how does everybody feel about kidnapping? No one responded to the question, which is the right move. Do not put your plans to kidnap the governor in a group text message. Probably because it's FBI agent only group text message. Here's a pro tip: if you're the new friend you made amping up your terrorism plans, he's probably an FBI agent, right? something to know. Just keep in your heart. But like these guys were pretty scary because they generally had better OPSEC than that. like operational security. Like they were meeting in an underground lair they built underneath a rug. Like you have to lift the rug and open the trap door and go down, and they would confiscate cell phones before they would go in their underground lair to talk about their plans. And then the mistake they made was they had a couple of informants and an undercover FBI agent in their group who they were all wearing wires. That's where they
okay, well, see, that's like we're laughing throughout this as we talk about this.
What are you supposed to do?
I know, and that's how I've generally felt about it the whole time. Like they're going back to Trump first being elected. There's been this like question of how is the far right going to respond if we just win? You know, what are they going to do? And the whole time I've always been on the side of like, dude, fuck them. They're cowards, they're pussies, they're dumb. They ain't gonna do shit. Like, and I've genuinely believed that. Like, I've never been less afraid of anything than I am of these like mayonnaise Americans who are in these militia groups or whatever. And I really do feel that way. But this story in particular, it's funny because, like, it both reaffirms that, like, they're easy to laugh at, but also, like you said, there's an actual element of them being a threat there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm afraid of being the guy that ends up, you know, having laughed this all off and then it turning out to be an actual problem. But I'm so inclined to just laugh them off because I'm not afraid of these guys. They're so like they are stupid. They're stupid. It's like we mentioned earlier, the way they plot out their nefarious schemes is based on fucking Steven Soderbergh movies. It's based on Ocean's 11 shit. It's like heist movies. They're like, oh, well, we need a guy in the van. We need a guy that knows dynamite really good. They're stupid. They're not like, I'm not afraid of them. But I worry about being the guy who screams that publicly and then they happen to come through with, you know, the right, I don't know, people, you know what I mean? Just being on the wrong side of them actually, the blind squirrel theory, right? The blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. Like that happens regarding these people, you know, like I don't want to jinx it. I'm too much of a sports fan to not be worried about jinxing something like this, but at a philosophical level, I'm just not worried about these people. I don't find them threatening. Like,
well, famous last word because
I know, right? Yeah,
I don't find them a threat to overthrow the government, but like there's always like, you know, pockets of right wing terror constantly in this country. I mean, like just in the last few years, you had the synagogue shooter, the El Paso shooter. You got the incels driving on the crowds. You got, you know, people driving the crowds of protesters, and like these, like Obama was the best recruiting tool they ever had because he gave them a boogeyman. Militia right. Ranks swelled like tenfold during the Obama years, and then Obama was their boogeyman, and Trump gave him a mascot, and he's going to turn into a martyr when he loses. So there is going to be an uptick in right-wing violence. What I find comforting about this, these guys are funny. I'm not telling this. I'm going to keep laughing at these morons because that's all we got, you know, is ridicule. But like, I am happy that the FBI is taking these, because the FBI keeps screaming that the number one threat, domestic terror threat, is right-wing dudes, and they're actually like putting some resources towards, you know, cracking these plots. That's good because usually they just follow around like people they think are Antifa, and just like try to like you know implant themselves in environmental movements and civil rights movements to like try to, you know, arrest people for. They always assume they're left-wing terror plots. There just aren't usually any. And these, like, I wish if these guys had the plans, like they were planning to plant IEDs and Molotov cocktails to take out cops. And the only police that have died since the protest started were killed by Boogaloo Boys trying to jump another set of dudes
right.
Who started race wars.
Well,
I would hope cops would like see the real threat to their lives here
right.
in terror movements. You know,
right? No, Yeah, no, that's a very important point, I think. Like, we're sitting here laughing these guys off and everything, but that's an important element of it is a huge part of these guys' strategy had to do with targeting and neutralizing law enforcement officials. Like, they're far right. They're far right militia, and they're trying to take out the cops, too. You know what I mean? So, like... You can't just if you're on the side of law enforcement, you can't just automatically put any sort of leftist ideology in opposition to you, because you've also got these guys who are pulling their bullshit. You know, so
yeah. I mean, it's like I guess it comes down to would you rather have Antifa, escort you with water guns and throw they shoot some fireworks at you, or have some right wing militia dudes blow up your cars? I don't know. It seems like I'd take column A, but I guess they're going to do them.
All right, Mark.
So can we talk about the Trump administration reaction to this, because it's fucking it's ghoulish and galling.
Yes.
So here's how Jason Miller, who is the de facto campaign head for Trump campaign right now, because everyone else has fucking COVID. Here's how he responded to finding out that Trump supporters were trying to kidnap the governor of Michigan.
Wait, what happened? Are you?
I'm here.
Did you? All right. Did you play a thing? What happened?
Oh, I don't know how to play it. There it is. I can't. I don't even know how to do it. You got the cockpit over there, man. I'm just sitting here talking.
You're right. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Here we go. I will pull it up.
Yeah.
I apologize.
This guy, by the way, if you don't know who Jason Miller is, after the end of the first campaign, he was caught having affairs with two staffers, one of whom he got pregnant, even though he was married to another woman. And he also got a stripper pregnant and he got accused of putting abortion drugs in her milkshake to try to get her to get rid of the baby. So this is the guy about to talk right now, who's the campaign.
All right. Well, I'm gonna play it. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
These are some pretty shameful comments here from Governor Whitmer. I mean, how you can go from a moment of unity to attacking President Trump, I thought was just completely ridiculous. I mean, if we want to talk about hatred, then Governor Whitmer, go look in the mirror. I mean, the fact that she wakes up every day with such hatred in her heart towards President Trump. I mean, President Trump is the one out there condemning these radical groups, whether they be on the right or they be on the left. We saw it 2 weeks ago when he was in Atlanta introducing his Platinum Plan, his contract with Black America, where he labeled the KKK and Antifa both terrorist groups.
Remember, this is the context of what Whitmer was about changed Trump's comments, whereas this is in the middle of all the protests when guys with ARs stormed the Michigan Capitol building and were pointing guns at cops over there and burning Governor Whitmer in effigy. And he was in the middle of all that. He was tweeting "Liberate Michigan," right? People know who he was talking to. I hate this.
It's also like, I don't know. Even putting all that aside, the idea of being like this woman whose family was targeted for abduction and ransom and all this. I don't know where she gets off accusing our ideology of having anything to do, the idea of targeting someone. I mean, it's victim blaming. You know, the idea of taking a victim in a scenario like this and being like, who the fuck do you think you are? You know, after someone saying that to you after you have been the target of a fucking abduction plot is insane. Like, I would never, just on a regular day-to-day interpersonal level, I would never do that. Like, if someone had been through something like that, I would not dream of accosting them with ideological accusations. You know, like, it's fucking absurd. But
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they call this a kidnapping plot, but I don't. If they successfully kidnapped her after killing a lot of her security detail or shooting them at least, I don't see how the plan doesn't end with her dead if they somehow got custody of her. You know, so yeah, her life was. She found out this morning her life was under threat from Trump's the president's supporters. Instead of saying our bad, maybe we'll be more careful with our language next time. They're like, you know what, doubling down. Get to it, I guess.
Yeah, right. This is a far right militia group. Imagine going through this, finding out you and your family, your children, everything are at risk because of this far right militia group, and you being the target of their ire. And then you go through that in that same day, someone asks you about it, and you respond. I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like you should almost be off the hook for what you say in that situation, no matter how it comes out. Do you know what I mean? Like that. I don't know. Somebody tries to come after my kids, my wife and kids, what I'm going to say in react, like if you put a fucking mic in my face at the end of that day and ask me to respond to it, I shouldn't even be held to that to begin with, right? And then let alone taking that and then demonizing that person on a political level, you know, and acting like that's completely out of bounds, politically speaking, is just fucking, it's not just ridiculous. It's fucking gross. You know what I mean? Like it is.
But I don't even want to go that far because nothing she said was inappropriate. She essentially just said the president should be more responsible with his language, which he absolutely should be. And you got this environment where like every Democrat in the country has to answer for every teenager with pink hair who spray paints ACAB on the side of a federal building. But the president's explicit supporters saying we're going to go kidnap this lady and kill people for the president, and somehow he's excited. Don't even put my name in it. You know, it's very weird.
Right.
Before we move on to the next topic, small update on the debate stuff. My Aunt Kim, shout out Aunt Kim, just sent me this. She just said, so the Trump campaign's chairman, Bill Stepien, put out a statement basically saying that they want in-person debate. They're ready for an in-person debate now. They're demanding it. And instead of calling off the debate, they want to do it. And they have a note from Trump's doctor saying he'll be cleared for safe return to public engagements by Saturday, which this breaks every guideline from what we know, unless he tested positive 2 weeks before they said, you know? So.
Well, I mean, yeah, but he's been doing that the whole time, you know,
But this doctor, dude, this fucking doctor, put his name on it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. They're always able to find, they're always able to find somebody with a doctor in front of their name who can back up the bullshit they're saying. Yeah. You know, even if it comes down to climate change or whatever, like they can find somebody who has been accredited at some point or another, who has the actual credentials to back it up, who can support the shit that they're saying. That never fails.
For sure, but like when it comes to climate change, you shop around for 2 or 3 quacks who are willing to go on the payroll, right? This guy,
I know. Well, that's the thing. Like you, yes, They find one guy, and there's 99 guys who say the opposite, right? But they find that one guy, and that one guy is just as accredited as the 99 guys are, and so.
Usually not.
But you know what I mean. Like they all.
Yeah, what I'm saying is this guy was already in his position previous to the Trump administration. He's been a Navy doctor for a long time. Like he works at Walter Reed. He just happens to be in that position. They've gotten him to completely surrender his dignity, even though he wasn't one of them when he started. He's just one of them now. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well. Let's go to the comments and everything over here, see what you guys are saying. While I look through things, I just wanted to take a moment to lambast the Tennessee Titans of the National Football League, who have done everything they can do to fuck the football season up, apparently. They held a an unsanctioned practice after already having their game postponed multiple weeks later because of multiple positive COVID test results. The players held an unsanctioned practice where they all came together, held hands, got in each other's face, hugged up, said, we're going to get through this. And now, what do you know, 14 days later, we're still getting positive results every fucking day. So good for them for doing that. But anyway.
I am amazed at how many people, these are dudes, like, the average NFL career is not very long. Like, I mean, like, once you throw out the outliers, like quarterbacks who play for 14 years, like, the average NFL player will make a good living playing football for 1, 2, 3 years, right? And these are guys who are putting not just their lives, but their livelihoods on the line to break rules that everyone understands. And it's like, this is the kind of shit. This is the reason that bleach has to have "do not drink" written on it. I cannot believe people are this fuck stupid.
I know. It's unreal. Still Kicking from YouTube says, just what kind of smart is smart, Mark?
I'm not. Trade does this. So Trey wants to be able to throw to me for actual information. So when it's wrong, he's not to blame for it. So
he's right. He's figured me out. He's figured me out. He's the guy with the actual information over here. GP says more Mark, and I agree with you. Let's get more Mark in here.
Too much.
Let's see what we got. Yada yada yada. Adam White says, and I just lost him. Adam White says, as an outside, oh, here we go, I found it. Adam White says, as an outsider from Australia, this is all batshit crazy. Yeah. I can't even imagine. I'm not gonna lie. I get defensive sometimes when I see shit like this because I'm like, don't act like y'all ain't got bullshit in your country. But then I realize I know we have got to be the most ridiculous of the, first world countries, and I feel bad. I feel bad and embarrassed for people like that. Like you said, like, this is what we are to you.
Yeah,
and I'm upset.
I remember getting drunk with some dudes from Australia in a bar in New York one time. This is during the 2016 election, and these guys were like making the case that the whole world should get to vote for America's president because when our shit's fucked up, the whole world's fucked up. And I argued with them for like 10 minutes, then I realized they're absolutely right. Australians should get to vote for America's president. So should all Europe. Because like we dragged the whole world into wars and we ruined climate change. And
it's weird because like I feel like, people from Australia, people from England, people from wherever else, they are generally aware of what's going on with American politics, and it doesn't apply in reverse. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Adam, I ain't got a clue what's going on in Australian politics right now. But I think
they have a dumbass science denying right wing president. Too, but like the difference here is like we have an entire party that's insulated itself from voters, so they can do whatever they want. You can't be held accountable, and that's
but also it's like it's like you said. Like, I mean, frankly, they need to keep up with what we're doing because we do. Like we're the toddler running around holding the nuclear football. You know what I mean? Like they have to keep up with what we're doing because we could fuck everything up overnight.
Imagine you're in like 2002, you're like an Iraqi small businessman. You got a store, right? And you're making a nice living. You got a family, and you're watching on TV as U.S. Senate debates about whether to kill you and blow your business up.
Right.
It's
right.
surreal. Like we don't have that here. We're not watching Chinese news to see if they're deciding to kill us because like we don't feel threatened by that. So it's very weird.
All right, so Tanya Johnson from Facebook says, "Are you concerned about civil war, like actual civil war?" And I want to say no, but it's weird. It won't be like it was before. I can tell you that right now. Like, because I feel like as a comedian who toured for years and everything and has been all around the country, you can find hardcore fucking far right wing Trump supporter Republicans in Southern California or Washington or Minnesota or fucking New York State or wherever. They're there. So what freaks me out about the idea of a like new civil war is that it's not going to be geographically based. I promise you. It's like a urban rural divide. So that makes me think that no, it's not going to happen ultimately. But I'm saying it won't be as simple as I think a lot of people see it playing out in their heads. You know, because there's pockets of both sides in every state in this country. It's not, you can't just, it's not the Mason-Dixon line. You can't just draw the line of demarcation somewhere on the map in America, and that's what makes it super fucked up.
There's just no, the short answer is like definitely no civil war. There's going to be civil unrest. And by that, I mean, you're going to have like these protests that have been happening since George Floyd died. They'd be happening even if Joe Biden was president. They're going to continue to keep happening as long as
right. Well, they started when Obama was president. You know?
Yeah, the Ferguson uprising.
Michael Brown, Ferguson. Yeah, that was when
was pretty great.
Obama
Uprising in Baltimore was under Obama. That stuff's going to keep happening, and more people are empathetic towards those movements are going to be bigger and bigger, and you're going to see pockets of right wing terrorism. Like it's going to be. I would expect to see a few, assassination attempts, but at least it'll be like Europe in the '60s, with you had a few communist brigade terrorist attacks and a few right wing, neo-Nazi terrorist attacks, and otherwise shit was fairly normal. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not like the late '60s were awful, man. Like there were tons of political assassinations, MLK, Robert Kennedy. Malcolm X, JFK died earlier in the decade. There, somebody threw the Secretary of Defense off a boat in the Potomac. There was like 700 domestic bombings a year. I don't think shit's going to get that bad. So we've survived worse, but there's a bunch.
Well, what do you think about this part of it? Randy Greer from YouTube says the Civil War today will be televised, and I actually think like that does make a difference. Like you'll know the source of where a lot of this is coming from. You know what I mean? Like it'll, I don't know. Like I said, it just, none of it is as black and white as a lot of people like to act like it is. Like a lot of it is a lot more gray, within this country than people like to think. And I feel like today your actions are sort of put out there for everybody to see the whole time, and I think that's good and bad. You know what I mean? Well, the shit with the governor of Michigan. You know, like people in Alabama, you ask them about Michigan, they're like, well, yeah, that's liberal state. You know, and you got a Democratic governor who was the subject of a kidnapping plot to be tried for treason by a far right group who was targeting cops who are, you know what I mean, like it is all so muddled. It's also fucked up right now. There's so many different kinds of crazy people who have a voice now, and it's like, what do you do with that?
Yeah, I mean, the will be televised thing. I guess my takeaway from that is like there'll be way less violence than you feel like it, but its effects will be more far-reaching because everyone will see it and everyone will know about it, and it will be on camera. So like. Something like,
right. Well, like the hardcore, the leader of the state level Congress in Michigan, who's a hardcore GOP guy, and I can't remember his name now, and I could look it up. But anyway, he came out and strongly condemned this plot and was like, any attack upon our governor is attack on all of us, and that we can't have this or whatever. And this dude is one of the most hardcore GOP types you can find. So
yeah, he's trying to say he's not for the violence. So he's been calling her a tyrant for 6 months.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. I know. And that. Okay. So that is unfair, and fuck that guy. But when the violence happens and that guy still, denounces it, that's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't let people off the hook for stoking this kind of bullshit for months and months, and then it finally comes to a head, and you can't just let them off the hook for that. But it is still preferable that they say, no, you can't do that. You go to jail. We can't have this, right? Like, we're not at a point where that guy is like, yes, crown him, let him out of jail. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to find hope here, Mark. Like,
I think, okay, well, it is good you walk back. To go back to the other person's question, I don't even like entertaining, like 95% of people just want to go about their day and be left alone. There's not like
that's true. Yes.
There's not some sort of mass societal destabilization like that led to the Civil War, which is like the fundamental understanding of the humanity of people of Black people. Right? There's not
right.
We don't have those kind of like so that kind of apocalyptic rhetoric is the kind of shit Trump says, and to me, it's playing into it to even entertain the idea. No, there's not going to be civil war. There's going to be a few dozen right-wing dudes that probably blow up some empty cop cars, and they'll get busted by the FBI because they don't know how to like not have an Alexa turned on and hey Siri, where should I do my next terrorist attack? So it's like it's going to be fine. Everybody.
Yeah. EV170 from YouTube agrees with you, Mark. They say all most people want is peace and quiet.
Yes.
There's too much drama with these nutcase groups, and you're right. I mean, yeah, like you said, 90% of people they just want to live their life. They want to go to work, pay their bills, raise their family, whatever, and just be left alone with this bullshit.
And I bet you if you look at these dudes' backgrounds, they're probably like these groups always like the Proud Boys, these militias. These are all like. This is too big to talk about at this moment, but like if you can Google like loneliness research, like American society has a tremendous like male loneliness problem. Not me, I got my buddy Trey to talk to, but like but like these groups prey upon dudes that just need to belong to something. And I bet you these guys are either divorced or single or they're abandoned by their family or whatever because they went crazy. And these are the group, and they this kind of shit gives them purpose. We're going to take back America from this tyrant who closed the the mall. So.
Yeah, but I don't know. Can we not? We just need a better video game or something for these guys. Like they could, like you know what I mean? Like just something that brings them all together. They can all talk about, and they don't have to feel so sad and disenfranchised. Like, can't we figure something out?
Trey, once virtual reality porn takes off, it's going to save society.
Oh, all right. Let's see. Okay. I don't know what this means, but Michelle Miller says, Mark, that part. Navarius08 says, so militias are full of incels? Yeah, I mean, I feel like, yes, they are. Like, not exclusively, but yes. There's a shitload of incels in militias.
I don't know if you saw the another news story from today. Brad Parscale, Trump's former campaign manager, who was arrested a couple weeks ago for hitting his wife, and he was tackled. He was filming the body cam footage being tackled, and then people were saying it's police abuse or whatever. But he said the reason he was upset is because his wife wouldn't have sex with him. So they're even married incels out there causing drama. But yeah, I mean, like these guys. When I say lonely, I don't just mean with women. I mean like they just looking for a friend group to talk to, and these militia groups will hang out with them. So.
All right. Quanti5 from YouTube says, can't they get into Animal Crossing like a normal person? Look, let me tell you something. I just want to say, I've tried, okay? We downloaded it in the house. I've floated around. I've picked up all the oysters and the shells and stuff. I started my own farm and stuff. I can't figure out the point of that game. I can't make Animal Crossing make sense to me. So I'm not gonna judge other people who cannot make sense of Animal Crossing. That's all I'm going to say. But it seems to rope some people in. So anybody that can recalibrate their focus or their rage into growing blue roses in Animal Crossing or an orchard, whatever, if they can do that, I support that fully. But I'm not there. Mark, do you have any fucking idea what I'm talking about?
No, I mean I've heard of Animal Crossing, but isn't it just do stuff you do? It's not really a video game. You just do stuff like you do in normal life, like hang out with people and you can play
pretty
flowers.
much.
I mean, I live in an apartment, so I can't plant that many flowers. But
It is kind of that, but you also do stuff you don't do in normal life, like you put on a scuba suit and you go swim out in the ocean and then go diving for oysters and stuff like that. Or you can stand there fishing for sharks and shit. I don't know. Look, my wife and kids tried to get me into it. I couldn't understand it, but yeah, it apparently a lot of people find it a very relaxing way to waste time. And I feel like, you know, a lot of these groups, they could use that. So maybe try Animal Crossing. The Wolverine Warriors in Michigan that were instead of outlining this nefarious plot to kidnap the governor, had instead focused on a singular island that they all started together in Animal Crossing, and they you know, parsed out the different responsibilities to different guys. Hey, Trevor, you plant the apple trees. You know, David, you fish for the sharks on the, like, if they'd have done that, then who knows, Mark? Where would we be right now? Maybe they would be in a better place. Nintendo's trying to save us all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can you say to that? What can you say to that ridiculous bullshit other than, yeah.
Apparently kids get on Fortnite, don't actually play Fortnite. They just like have dance parties and hang out and talk. So like video games really are a different bag, man. So.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, when I was in high school, fucking Columbine happened. Everybody blamed violent video games for it, but maybe video games are trying to save us all. You know, maybe it goes in the opposite direction. Who knows? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If you're a fucking Proud Boy, try Animal Crossing. That's all I'm saying. Do that. Start an island. Plant a tree. See what happens. God damn it. All right. Well, me and Mark, we'll see you next Tuesday here on Evening Skews. And thank you. We love you. See you. Bye.